Hi, I'm Will Hansen with Cantology. With this video, I'm setting off on a bit of a YouTube road trip. By the end, I expect I'll ski better, and hopefully you will too if you come along. You see, the ski industry has recognized the importance of skier stance for more than 50 years. Today, we have a precise way to cant most modern ski boots. That is, adjust the lateral boot sole angle. But in my opinion, the evaluation of skier stance, or what many call alignment, has not kept up, and the industry is inconsistent at best at explaining what the optimal stance for skiers should be. I say this for several reasons. I can think of at least 6 ways that boot fitters use to evaluate skiers' stance or their alignment. I don't think they all arrive at the same result. There's no single recognized best practice out there, so we know that there's a state of the art, but what is it? And the goal of stance evaluation is not clearly defined. It's not commonly understood what we should be shooting for. What is the optimal skier stance? Should everyone always be flat, or inside or outside? Should we be symmetric? Should beginners and experts use the same stance? And lastly, is the perfect stance a moving target as skis and ski technique evolve? So with this video, I'm setting off on a journey to answer these 3 questions. What is the perfect stance? How should we best achieve it? And is it evolving? So here's my plan. I'll talk with some of the best boot fitters in the country and document the stance evaluation techniques that they use. I'll interview top instructors and race coaches and even some ski boot manufacturers. I'll gather as many perspectives as I can and explore the biomechanics involved, and I'll do some on-snow experiments. I'll leave my conclusions, including comparing and contrasting the various alignment techniques, until the end. But it should be a pretty interesting trip, and hopefully I can shed light on this critical but shadowy topic. In this first video, I visit Start Haus in Truckee, California. With their emphasis on racing, Start Haus has a great reputation as one of the best boot fitting shops in the country. We'll watch Alexis, one of their boot fitters, run customer Lisa through their process. We only look at stance after all boot and cuff adjustments are optimal. Alexis has already fit Lisa's new boots and starts her stance evaluation by deciding that Lisa's boot cuffs are fine. Alexis uses a carpenter's Plumb-bob to align the center of Lisa's knee with the center of the boot sole. This becomes the starting reference point to get Lisa into balance over her ski. Let's watch.
So in general, and I mean, you know what canting is, but for the sake of explanation, the reason you would cant you is to get you to run flats. So more often than not, if your knees kind of come in or not either bow-legged, if they come out, you're either gonna run the inside or the outside of your ski, which makes it really hard to initiate either your inside edge or your outside edge. So in terms of getting flat, it means that when you go to initiate either an inside or an outside edge, you're gonna get there faster. For a rec skier, I'm trying to line them straight up with the center line. So center of your knee has straight up with the center of this.
Just to clarify, there's a faint line running down the center of each ski boot shell where the 2 halves of the mold it was made with meet. This line provides a nice reference point for boot fitters in that it marks the lateral center of the boot and therefore the center line of the boot sole and the center line of the ski.
I'll do that then, because those pant legs roll up over your knees. Or can they? Perfect. For a racer, I want them inside the seam with the hair so they can get a more aggressive inside edge. But, so back up onto this board, toe in here, toe in here. And the width I have this set at is approximate hip width for you, for your height, right? It's probably not exact, but it's darn close. So for the same thing, just kind of relax into the front of your boot, arms by your side, look straight forward. So what I'm trying to find is just the top of your tibial plateau, right? Just the top of that is kind of where we aim for. And looking straight for center knee mass. So then we'll drop the Plumb-bob down here, and this will give me a pretty good indication of whether or not you are lining up center or not. You appear to be lying about a degree inside on your left. And I would call that half on your right. Do me a favor, just to kind of get yourself shaken out and not tense, because it's really easy to like tense up and find. So I want you to just find the same neutral you were just in. That's really funny. So in having you relax and just kind of shake yourself out, you went from, I think you were tensed up in your quads, because you've gone from like 10 mil out to about 5. You brought yourself kind of out, so you're not quite as tense. That's about the same, but your left definitely changed. So, just in terms of how they feel, what I want you to do in terms of dynamic, because this is static, right? So what I want you to do is step onto your right foot, just barely lift your left, so don't like shift your hips or anything, but just kind of like lift it up next, like behind and next to you. Just kind of do this. There you go. And I want you to bend your right knee forward and get all the weight off of your left, so balance on your right.
I thought about it, but I doubt it.
And then set your left foot back down, and then do that. Transfer all your weight onto your right, or onto your left. That also works.
Oh, sorry.
So when you do that, do you feel like you have even weight from across the ball of your foot, or does it feel like you are either in on your first or kind of out to the outside?
I feel like it's a little in.
I feel like it's a little in. It looks it. I'm gonna bring you back to the center. It's the same thing. So step onto your left.
So in that car, always.
Yeah, just kind of look at it. And then the same thing. This is there. And then step onto that right. Does one of them feel?
This one feels more
More in?
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go with
Extend that super.
a 1 degree out on this one. So just lift this foot up slightly. Set it back down. So I'm gonna run with my assumption that you're about half on your right. I'm gonna go 0.5 on this guy.
No, I feel you. Yeah, let's get it all sorted out for you.
I did that wrong order.
So just kind of same thing. So the super important part of camping is you being able to find the same stance every single time, right? So find that the second time you kind of had you shake out and get all relaxed. Same thing. Find that stance, and then look straight forward, hands by your sides, and we'll measure you up again. That was a massive overcorrect. Actually, I went too far. That. So your right's perfect now. Your right's dead even with that center seam. Your left is too far. So go ahead and take this guy over here, and we will go 0.5 on each and see how we go. Same thing. Let's get this going. Okay. You're good. Right. Okay. So same thing. Find that same stance you were just in. That brings you a hair out from where you were. So you were about like 10 in, and that corrected quite a bit. So same thing. I want you to stand up onto your right and give that a few flexes forward. Okay. How does that guy feel this go around?
feels straighter.
Feels a bit more even across the foot. I'm gonna set this guy back. Same thing, so step onto your left. Does that feel more even, or you still feel like you're falling into the inside slightly?
I think more than that one, but better. It feels better.
It feels better. So I'm gonna have you try this one more time. And then we're going to switch it out for the 1 degree, which is where you were lining up a little bit better. That rolls perfect. So keep looking straight forward. There we go, that went back to normal. But that looks really even, so same thing. So stand up onto your left, because that's comparing it to the 0.5 degree that you just had.
No, it feels more stable.
So it's more stable. Okay. So in terms of, so then compare it to the right.
Yeah. Yeah, that one feels good.
Okay.
Okay, you get the idea. A lot of back and forth as Alexis keeps testing. So we'll fast forward through this last trip around the bases.
But this looks consistently, that consistently lines you up over that center line, which is kind of what we're looking for. Awesome. Cool. So you are good to get out of those.
Okay.
Completely.
Okay, a couple of takeaways before we end. First, a lot of attention is paid to the center of the knee mass being centered over the boot sole. But more importantly, Alexis and Lisa were looking for the lateral knee position where Lisa's weight was evenly distributed across the sole of her foot. Standing on one foot helped Lisa gauge the amount of cant correction to get her into that spot. It's easier to balance when your weight is evenly spread across the balls of your feet. Second, finding the right amount of cant correction is a lot like an eye exam. Alexis swaps cant sizes under Lisa's left boot several times, each time asking, is this better or was that better? Lisa eventually becomes confident that 1 degree of cant put her in a better position than a half a degree of cant. What's rather amazing in these comparisons is that the height difference between those two cant sizes down at the boot sole was significantly less than the thickness of a single credit card, and the lateral difference up at her knee was less than 0.2 of an inch. This series will focus on getting these tiny adjustments right and how doing so can transform your skiing. Next up, I interview 4 elite boot fitters and we watch as they each use a different method to evaluate skier stance. This is going to be fun. If you're interested, now would be a good time to hit the subscribe button. Take care, stay safe, and have a great ski season.